Well, go on YouTube. I'm back with another video. It's KD Rianne. I cannot believe I'm recording my third YouTube video. Guys, I'm sorry if the first two videos are not what you're expecting, a little bit chaotic. That is just me, and I really have to stick to just being me. I've never been someone that's watched YouTube, so I don't know what the usual style is. I did try to watch a few YouTube videos, and I just couldn't work it out. I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna do what I always do. I'm just gonna be me. I'm just gonna post me. If you don't like it, completely fine. No need to engage with my content. I won't be mad. But if you do like it, please subscribe, please like, please comment. Obviously, I'm always happy to take feedback on board. Also, tell me in the comments what sort of things you want me to talk about. That's the best thing I can do for you. But it will be chaotic. That's just how my brain works. But we're here to learn. We're here to have fun. We're here to enjoy. This weekend, I'm going to City Splash. So I'm just doing my nighttime skincare. I'm using the Remedy for dark spots. 10/10. By the way, this weekend I've been invited to City Splash to do content. So, well, when I say to do content, they just invite me down to party. Obviously, they want me to post that I'm going to encourage you guys to come with me. So I'll be there in VIP doing content. I'll probably come out of VIP as well in the hope of meeting some people. What else am I doing? Then on Sunday, I'm going to STK brunch. Again, I was invited to the party of guest list only, but I actually paid for the brunch because my friends that I'm going with wanted to do brunch. So that's what I'm doing this weekend. So I will do a weekend vlog. Oh wait, I lied. I'm doing all of that next weekend. This weekend, I'm going to a non-bottomless brunch, and then that's it. And then I'm going to have a content day on Sunday because I'm going to try film loads of videos for you on Sunday, because obviously next week I'm really busy and then I'm out all weekend. And then the following weekend, I've got Matt's barbecue for a Halloween party. Still haven't sorted my outfit yet. And then the day after that, we've got the beauty meet, which is so exciting. So yeah, I'm planning to use this Sunday as a content day, film loads of content for you that I can then edit during the week and just push it out as we go. So do tell me what you want so that I can get that done on Sunday. Right now, sorry. This is what I mean. They're going to be chaotic. Someone said it feels like FaceTime. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. To me, that's a good thing because I want you guys to feel like it's just me, how I would talk to my friends. It's not me putting on like a content voice. Oh, hi guys, welcome to my channel. That's just not me. Ain't nobody got time for that. So anyway, this video is to talk about, wait, what was the question? Hold on. So someone left a question under my YouTube asking me to talk about something, and that's what I wanted to address, because as I said, I'm really going to try to address what you guys want me to, and I haven't got my glasses on. Please can you do a video on your training contract vacation scheme interviews, what to expect and how to prepare as a black woman? Boom, that's what we're doing. I'm using the Sunday Riley ice cream, which I love. That's what we're going to do tonight. So, training contract interviews and vacation scheme interviews as a black woman. If you haven't watched my first video where I'm breaking down how I got into my career in law, please pause and have a watch, because I've explained a lot of the context for that in this video. But basically, I was really nervous at final interviews. I was really rubbish at them. And I just felt like it was really daunting as a black woman to sit in an interview. I'm using the Sugar Advanced Therapy Lip Balm, by the way. Just to sit in an interview and try and sell myself to white people. I don't know, that's how it felt to me. And I just was really rubbish at it. And it got to the point where I was like, I'm just not doing very well at this. I need to change my tactics. But what I realized is that it was very much linked to how much confidence I had in myself. Sorry, guys. You guys are going to be so annoyed because you're like, Katie, you start talking about something and then you just switch. But I just need to put my eyelash serum on. I need to concentrate. This is the Abaji Nutil eyelash serum. Would highly recommend if you are like me and you don't wear lashes. It is good and it lasts forever, but it's very expensive. Cool. Let me clean my glasses and then I'll just do this video properly and then go to bed. And just can I show my dedication to you guys, because it is midnight and I am in the office tomorrow, but I'm here recording because I just want to make sure you guys are getting the content you need when you need it. And I know interviews are coming up, so I want to do my best to just help right now. Cool. Sorry. Let's get into it. Wait, hold on. Let me read the question again. Oh, you guys are going to say, Kate, it's not even funny, but I actually don't care. Please, can you do a video on your training contract vacation scheme interviews, what to expect, how to prepare as a black woman? Right. Training contract vacation scheme interviews. I had, how many final interviews did I have? 4 final interviews I didn't get, and then 1 that I did get. The 4 final interviews that I didn't get, all of them were daunting as ever. My experience was just horrible. Like, I just remember going in there and it was nothing to do with them. I just walked in and I felt like I don't belong here. I don't fit. They were just two older white males. And I remember just sitting there. They were asking me all these questions. And obviously I didn't have lots of experience. My grades had been bad. And I was just thinking, I'm never going to get this job. But that is exactly what my problem was. The mindset that I had in those rooms is that I wasn't worthy of being there. And so my first piece of advice is, if you are going into a training contract interview, vacation scheme interview, or any interview, you are in the room because they see something in you. They want to give you the job. You're at the very last hurdle and they're basically saying, hey, everything we've seen on paper, every written assessment, everything you've done until this point, we think you're brilliant and perfect for the job. Just come and let us get to know you. And when I started realizing that an interview was more of a get to know you session, obviously they ask you questions because it has to be assessed fairly across the board. But really, they want to see if you are a good fit. You do need to answer the questions properly, and we'll get onto that. But you also need to remember that once you are in that room, you belong there. So again, it goes back to imposter syndrome. That has to go out of the window. You need to psych yourself up. Like, I used to have like a little bit of a ritual where before I go into an interview, I go into the bathroom and then I'm in the bathroom peeing and I'm like, Kadeen, you got this. This is your job. Are you mad? You're already in the building. Like, what do you mean? This is your job. Obviously, half the time I wasn't getting the job. But the confidence that I would have walked into that interview room with, it was like, boom, I've got this. And someone once told me something about like a handshake. I really don't like shaking people's hands because germs, but they always say like a strong handshake. Men tend to give a strong handshake, whereas women do a little bit of a weaker one. And when you are in an interview and you go in, shake their hand like yo, your bridges, like yo, obviously don't yo them, respectful, but it should be like, wagwan, yeah, my G. That is your job. That's how you have to think. You have to remove all imposter syndrome and just put all that confidence in. And I know it's easier said than done, but that is the mindset you need to have. You just have to gas yourself up. Like, be delusional. Act like you know them. Do your research on them as well. If you know the names of the people that are interviewing you, go and do your research. Have a look at what they look like. Look at the work they've done. And also that takes out some of the fear of, oh, I'm going in this room with complete strangers. You've got a little bit of a backstory. Check out their LinkedIn. Look at stuff they've recently posted. Some people nowadays on LinkedIn are writing about their family and so on. Check out stuff like that. I think it is really important that we do things like that because it just helps to bridge the gap. It stops them feeling like these partners and it makes them feel like, oh, they're human beings and they're people that we can talk to. And I think that is the truth of the matter. As someone that has worked in the legal industry, gosh, I've been qualified for 3 years. I did a training contract for 2 years. That's 5 years. And I paralegaled for 3 years. That is 8 years I've been working in the legal industry, and I did an internship before that, but we won't count that. But technically I've been in the legal industry for 9 years now, and if there's one thing I can say, yes, it is majority white, and that can make you feel very alienated, but there is always something you can relate to. There is always, someone might just, you both like chicken and chips. Like, there is just always something that you can connect with people on, and you have to hold on to the things you can connect with and not worry about all the things you can't connect with. So that's what I'd say about going into interview. First off, make sure you believe that you're in the room. That's what we're going to do. Before you even leave the house, you're telling yourself you're coming home with that job. You go into the interview, that's the attitude you have. Give a strong handshake. Treat them like your friends. Do your research on the people. When it comes to the questions, everyone has different styles of questionings. Everyone has different assessments. So in some interviews, they will have a score that they give you for each question. Everyone does it very differently. What I will say is treat each interview like a pitch for yourself. Now, everyone has different advice. This is my advice that I would say. That's what I feel like has worked for me. And I also think that's what helps me feel confident. But treat it like a pitch. Treat it like, okay, you're asking me a time of giving an example of good communication. And I know we have this STAR method, and I'm not telling you to scrap that at all, please. That is apparently proven it works. But for me, that goes out of my head. When I'm in an interview, I am nervous. I have to sit on my hands because I wriggle around so much. And actually, social media has been really good to teach me to sit still. Although I feel like my hands are all over the place. But usually if I'm in an interview, I'm crossing my leg, I'm folding my leg, I'm sitting forward, I'm sitting backwards. I'm like this. I'm all over the place. Social media has actually helped me to keep straight. But the STAR method would go out of my... Out of my head, out of my head. And the way I prep for interviews is I get a massive Word document and I put all the different skills that they might ask me about. So for communication, then I have my little STAR technique. I have all my examples set out. That's how I go into interview. Like, I've prepped everything, all questions about the firm, why I want to work there. I don't write out paragraphs, but I have bullet points. And what I tend to do is, as I'm practicing, also, sorry, this is what I mean by it's all over the place. Let's just go back a minute. Before you get into the interview and you start answering questions, how do you prep for the interview? For me, I prep for interviews like they're exams. The way I research, I'm cramming everything. I need to know everything about your firm. I need to know everything about the areas of law. I need to know everything about your training contract, your trainees. I literally do it like an essay. I get a blank piece of paper. I start researching. Oh, this person's interviewing me. Oh, here's some bullet points about them. Oh, they want to know about communication. Bullet points about them. I go on the trainee, like when it has the trainee page. Most firms have like a separate page for trainees, and usually on it they will talk about like their trainees should have technical abilities, their trainees communication, blah blah blah. Or I go on law websites. Sorry, I'm thinking like what is it called? Like, student chambers for students, those sorts of websites. I go on all of those sorts of websites, and when I'm on those websites, I will look up all the things their trainees have said, the sort of things their trainees have done, and pick out all the skills that their trainees may have demonstrated. And then in my research, I'm thinking of an example for every single one, and I will have the STAR technique, but I very much use bullet points. I know some people write out their whole answers. To me, that is insane. I need little bullet points that will come back to me. Oh, communication. What was that bullet point? Boom. Say it like that. So that's how I prepare for an exam. And it is an exam. Sorry. You need to pass the interview to get the job. So we got to treat them like exams. But that's what I would do for everything. Like, even stuff on their diversity, questions that I have for them, everything is like written out in bullet points. Sometimes I'll be preparing for an interview and I've got like a 7-page document. As I then go through, and especially the day before, I turn that 7-page document into like a 2-pager. And communication, I'll have my 3 top things that I want to get out. And I'm not saying top examples, 1 example, but 3 things that I definitely want to get out. And that's why I say STAR goes out of my head. I cannot think about doing it in that order. As you guys can tell from my content, my brain is all over the place. So there's no way I'm going to be able to sit in an interview and think about this really clear structure. No. What I can do though is be like, if we're talking about communication, I need to say these 3 things. And that's what I've got in my head. 3 short bullet points of things to remember. And then when you say, tell us about your communication, boom, 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 comes into my head. And I can hit the ground running and remember those key things. I also have 3 key things that I want to make sure I say throughout. So if we get to the end and they're like, is there anything else you'd like to add? And I haven't said one of my three key things, I'm gonna drink some water because I speak really quickly apparently. I don't know if you can slow YouTube down. If not, I'm really going to learn to speak slowly, which will probably help me in life anyway. Sorry. And I'm doing a panel talk tomorrow, and I'm going to try tomorrow not to speak at this speed because clearly I speak too fast. But yeah, there's 3 key things that I would want to make sure that I have said. And if you were to ask me what would those 3 things be, it would just be, I don't know, like I'm very resilient, and I feel like in a law firm, there's obviously sometimes lots of pressure. People are working long hours, and I like to demonstrate that I'm resilient. So if you don't ask me a question to tell me where I can tell you that I'm resilient, I'm going to just tell you that I'm resilient because you need to know that I am resilient. I pick myself up. I'm hardworking. I get the job done. But those 3 things can be anything that's important to you. I don't want to share with you what I would say because I don't want that to taint where you would take it. You know yourself. You know what your unique selling points are. And so you need to portray those and think about those and share those with the person that will give you the job. Cool. That's how I prep for interviews. That's how I psych myself up for interviews. And just so that we're clear, I am absolutely shitting it. Like, I go into interviews so nervous, so scared, and like I'm literally like, oh my gosh, there is no way they're going to give me this job. But then I'll be saying all these things to myself. I'm like, Kadeen, you're in the room because they want you in the room. Kadeen, you've done your prep. Kadeen, have these 3 things in your mind. Don't worry if you forget to say everything else. Do not leave without saying those 3 things. Those 3 things are going to be the things that get you the job. That's basically what I'll do as I'm walking in and as I'm sitting there waiting and all the nerves are running through me. I'm like, what's your 3 things? What's your 3 things? Cool. You go into the interview. We've already covered the handshake. Sorry, I put my phone on D&D. We've already covered the handshake. Now we're going to get into the questions. As I said, star technique would go out of the window for me. So every time a question comes up, I'm just thinking about my 3 things. And sometimes I would forget them. I would only remember one. But I'm never hard on myself, because what I tell myself is every single question is an opportunity to pitch yourself. Do not worry so much about the star technique and all the things you want to say. They're asking you, give us an example of a time you communicated well. Yes, they want an example, but most of all, what they want to know is that you can communicate. So no matter what you say when you respond, demonstrate that you can communicate, and do that in as much detail as possible. But don't go on for too long, because if you go on for too long, that is not great communication. Think about the time. Think about the time of the interview. It's a 45-minute interview. You have no clue how many questions they're going to have. But I would just say, pay attention to body language where you can. Sorry, my nose is so itchy and I've got allergies. I feel like I'm having an allergic reaction. So I'm going to try, I was going to say I'm going to sit on my hands, but that's not going to work. I'm going to try to sit on one hand so that I don't keep itching my nose. But that's what I would say, like, focus a little. Sometimes I focus on body language. And when I say focus on body language, don't overly read them, because you can never tell what's in the minds of an interviewer. But sometimes I would like, have they stopped writing? And is there any more space left for them to write? Like, just little things like that. If you know that you have a tendency to ramble, I have a tendency to ramble. If you know you have a tendency to ramble, I have in my head little clues and pointers that I might try and pick up on, so that I know when to pause myself. And sometimes that's just in me. Like, as you saw, I just needed a drink. Sometimes I will use that. Like, if I'm talking loads, I'll be like, Kaden, have a drink, and just think about, is there anything else you need to add? Water is your best friend. It is a pause. It is a breath, and it's an easy breath because they don't see it coming. Everyone needs to drink water. It's absolutely fine. So if you are a rambler like me, and sometimes you can get a bit carried away, just stop and have water. And when you're having water, just say, do you need to keep answering this question, or have you said enough? And if you haven't said enough, what's one of your bullet points that you haven't got out yet? Just say that and end and move on. And that's what I used to do. And that's basically how I tackle every single question. Now, when it gets to the end and they're saying, do you have any questions for us? One of the questions I used in one of my training contract interviews, which I didn't get, so I'm not saying use it, but I just said to them, I think this is when I was coming from in-house paralegal work to private practice, and you guys might find wherever you are now, you might just be in uni, or maybe you're out of uni and you're just working. Like, I was working at William Hill before, so sometimes it's like you're in a regular job, you're not in the legal industry. But I said to them, what do you think? So wait, what was my question? It was like, what do you think will be the most difficult thing for me to transition as in the job I'm in now as a paralegal in-house into your law firm? And the reason I asked that question is because I had that doubt that they might think, oh, she's worked at William Hill, she's just worked in-house for a few months, she does not have the skills of our other paralegals who I might have been competing against, or other paralegals who I'm competing against. Also, I did a politics degree, so in my head I'm competing against people that did law. I thought they might say, she doesn't have the skills and therefore they're going to give it to someone else. So I asked that question so that I could address it. So if, I can't even remember what they said, but if they turned around and said, oh, we're a bit concerned because you don't have blah, 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 I would then have a chance to say, no, that's completely understandable. But so I used to ask that question to give me a way to like plump it up. Now I don't know if I would do that. I'm not against it, but I mean, it didn't work. So I don't know if that's the reason I didn't get the job, but it didn't work. That's never been my feedback, by the way, but it didn't work. What I will say is when you have those, I tend to limit it to 2 questions, and I try to make one question. I think people sometimes ask questions like, oh, so why did you get into your area of law? Blah, blah, blah. I would stay clear of those questions. I think your final interview is your last chance to sell yourself and your last chance to really get to know the firm and for them to know that you'd be a good fit at the firm. And I think asking them about their careers in law feels like a bit of a waste of a question, because that doesn't tell them anything more about you. It feels nice because lawyers always love to speak about themselves. We have big heads, yes. But is it helping you get the job? Is it helping you reassure them that you're the one for the job? I don't think so. I would now, if I was approaching it, ask something about the firm in terms of like its culture. I think at the moment culture is massive, although interesting, we're in Black History Month and it feels quite quiet, but in general lots of firms do care internally about their culture. They do care about how they look externally. So I might go along the lines of something a bit about the culture, something I've seen about the values and aligning with the values and where the firm is going. Diversity and inclusion is obviously massive to me, and I do not shy away from it. So one of my questions is always exclusively reserved for diversity and inclusion. I need to know what the plans are. If I can't see much D&I on the website, but you are telling me you want me in this firm, tell me what else have you got planned? Like, what is going on? Or I might see an initiative that I've seen online and I would ask a question to understand a little bit more about the initiative, how many solicitors take part. So for example, I might see an initiative, I can't think of one, but I might see an initiative and then I would ask a question to perhaps say something like, sorry, I'm trying to think whilst I talk. Let me have water and think. So if they have an initiative where it's like, we do voluntary work, it doesn't have to be necessarily about race, but there's all sorts of networks that the firm have, and I would encourage you to look at all their networks. Think about a network you might join and base your question around that network. But for me, it would be around race, ethnicity, diversity, inclusion. But say they had a scheme where they did mentoring to young Black students and that was something that they advertise, I would ask the question like, are they paired with other black people? Like, I would just find a way to find out more about the firm's diversity and inclusion. But within that, I would also demonstrate my commitment to it. So I would obviously start the question with, as a young Black woman, diversity and inclusion is very important to me. I actually do lots of voluntary work in that space. So I would use that again if I haven't managed to get my voluntary work out there as an example to say, I currently do voluntary work, blah, 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 because it's such a passion of mine. I noticed that on your website, you guys have this project. Is that something that is done every year? Is it something that from partners to trainees take part? Who gets involved? How many students have you changed? Have you got any success stories from that? They probably won't know the answer, but for me, it's a good way to demonstrate that D&I is important to me, and that's something I will come in the firm and do. And if that puts them off and they don't offer me the job because they don't have a real commitment, respectfully, I don't want to be there, because that is just not the sort of firm where I would see myself long term. I would not feel comfortable in a firm that isn't going to be passionate about diversity and inclusion. It is just so important to me. Sorry, I keep itching my nose. Oh my gosh, I'm having an allergic reaction. I don't know what to, and I can't be asked to get antihistamine. Oh wait, actually I've got some in here. It's that one, sorry. Because I just can't be asked to get up. Because if I get up, I'm not going to come back. Hopefully that was sitting, but it's 12:24 and I'm in the office tomorrow. I'm not going to get up and come back. But cool. So that's what I would ask, something about diversity and inclusion. The other type of question I think I would probably ask would probably around the firm's values, or maybe like training opportunities, or social element is a good one, because okay, let's get into social elements very quickly. As much as we all need to be academic, we all need to do a good job, every law firm wants people to have fun. Like, they want people to be a family. They want us all to be embedded and together and as one. They want you to work as a team. They want you to come to summer parties. They want you to come to drinks. They want you to do lunch together. So actually showing that socially you're curious and socially you would fit in, I think goes a long way. And again, as I said to you, for me, the whole interview is me selling myself. Like, just like how influencers, content creators, they all have a job in terms of when they're doing ads to come on and sell. When you are in an interview, you are an influencer. You are influencing them to hire you. Like, that's the job. That's your goal. You're going in and you're saying, look, here's everything about me. So when you get to the end and they're like, have you got anything more to add? Of course you've got more to add. There's so much more about me that you don't know. Share something, even if it's just one small thing. When they say, have you got any questions? Of course I've got questions, but these questions need to help you to get to know me more. So for example, in terms of social, I don't like netball anymore. I did used to love netball, but I would say something like, oh, I see that the firm has a netball team. I used to play netball in school. I play netball now with friends, blah, blah, blah. how is the netball team running? Have you guys joined it? Even if you're not able to play, can you watch the matches? Blah, blah, blah. That's the sort of question I might ask. Sometimes they won't know the answer to it. So these questions can be risky, and maybe pick one or the other and maybe ask something about a case that they've worked on that's really interesting. I personally, I'm a fun babe. If you watch my other content, you just know I'm a fun babe. So I just think when I get to the end of the interview, I don't want to ask you about a case that's interesting, because I could just read what you guys have written online. And I feel like that's the sort of thing I might do. Like, I'm quite cheeky in that, oh, I was having a look on your LinkedIn and I see that you worked in some cases. They look really interesting. And I was going to ask about it, but I've already read it on LinkedIn. So instead, I'm going to ask about something a bit more fun and let's talk about netball. That's the sort of thing I would do. And I remember in one of my interviews, again, I didn't get it, but I was talking about some voluntary work I do with kids in care. And the person there was a foster carer. So when I brought that up as my final question, I was like, oh, I spend a lot of time doing voluntary work. One of the projects I'm working on at the moment is with kids in care. How does the firm feel about their employees doing all sorts of voluntary work? Because I have a long list of different charities I volunteer with. And he was like, oh my gosh, I know that charity, blah, blah. And we just got talking about it. And that for me is really important, because it built that connection. And it was a way to say, hold on a minute, if you were in my team, we could talk about the work that we do. We have something in common. And I quite like building that at the end of an interview. That is the route that I go down. But certainly don't take my advice. It is just how I do it. And I shared with my mentees I shared with my mentees my application for my VAT scheme. And actually in my application for my VAT scheme, I touched on a lot of stuff that were just fun. I spoke about the fact that I'm an adrenaline junkie. I spoke about, I think, my love for the theatre. Let me see if I can find it. I can't share it widely, of course. I've shared it just with my mentee group at the moment. And if there are opportunities for me to mentor more of you, I will. But what I will do is just share with you a little paragraph of what I wrote. So it says, please provide any further information about yourself that is relevant to your application. And this is what I wrote. Aside from my passion and dedication to pursuing a career in law, I also have a keen interest in traveling. I have visited 8 countries so far and intend to uphold my reputation for always having a holiday booked. By the way, I have so uphold that reputation. Like, who am I? I really did that. Jamaica's the next holiday, but I don't think in my life I've ever had a gap where there's no holiday booked. And if I do, I'm about to book one. Sorry, back to it. By traveling extensively and embracing a plethora of different cultures. Also, I would never say the word plethora, but to add some little words to jazz it up. Embracing a plethora of different cultures, I believe I have gained a unique insight into how diverse the world we live in is and the impact our environment has on who we are as people. I also enjoyed taking part in activities that give me an adrenaline rush. For example, I have skydived, scuba dived, parasailed, and I intend to do a bungee jump later this year. I have still not done a bungee jump, but I really, really want to do one. But I feel like the adrenaline junkie left my head. Like, that feeling has left my body now. Please. I like my life too much. What else did I say? I said, alongside extreme sports, I'm very competitive and love taking part in team sports. Although I have not played since leaving secondary school, I would be keen to join the staff netball team because it would give me the chance to keep fit whilst bonding and socialising with my colleagues. Further, I would be eager to participate in the baking competition because despite a lack of expert baking skills, I'm well practiced in cake tasting. Now, that last sentence, I'm well practiced in cake tasting, was the last sentence in my application. And as you can see, when they said provide further information about yourself that is relevant, I didn't go down the line of, oh, I'm really smart, oh, I can do this, no, I just went down the line of, I'm a fun babe. Why wouldn't you want to work with me? I go on all these great travels. I'm going to come back and tell you stories. I'm going to bring you sweets. You know, I understand different cultures, which is what you need because everyone wants to be key in diversity and inclusion. I like extreme sports. I'll play in the netball team. I'll help with your baking competition. So that's the line I went down. And guys, oh my days, my nose is burning. Is that even a bogey? Sorry. I've got allergy to wheat. Can you see how red my nose has gone? And I'm literally having an allergic reaction. I might take another antihistamine. But yeah, that's the line that I went down. And you can see there that the reason why I say in an interview I went down that line is because at the point of the interview, depending on what the scheme is, they've seen your application where you've already demonstrated everything you can do. They know all your experience, they know all your grades, they know everything. They also may have so you may have submitted a CV that they've seen, submitted an application, cover letter, they've read all of that, they've digested it. You may have been through an assessment center, you may have done a written test to which they've seen the results, you may have like a verbal reasoning test or like psychometric test, you may have also separately done like a written test where they can see your written work. So at the point of the interview, when we get to the very end, I'm like, this is the last I'm ever going to speak to you people if you don't offer me the job. So I'm just going to show you that I'm a fun person. Like, you know, you've seen everything now. Get to know me. Like, hey, I'm KD Rian, I'm the lifestyle lawyer. I love dancehall. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of where I take it. I take it down that route because I feel like that route feels safer than going down the, more academic, like, just more academic stuff. I just kind of want to make them laugh, put them at ease. Look, even if I didn't ace the interview, I'm an ace person, so give me the job. So that's sort of how I end it. Sorry, I'm going to hit this because my nose. Also, I'm an expert at taking tablets because did you see that tiny little bit of water that I took it with? And it just went down. So hopefully that should cool off because it's going to stop me going to sleep. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. So yeah, that's how I would leave the interview. I don't know if there's anything else I would say or do. Obviously, when you're in an interview, just standard stuff like dress appropriately, maintain eye contact. If you're someone like me that is going to itch their nose the whole time, sit on your hands, go toilet before. Some interviews now are like remote, and if I've done them virtually, I would just have in front of me my 3 key bullet points. I wouldn't have anything else around me because I will get distracted. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Let me just go back to the question and make sure. Guys, my nose is on fire. Yeah, and in terms of what to expect, I have no clue on the questions that they would ask anymore. I feel like I'm so far out of the game. But what I will say is if you submitted a CV, be familiar with your CV. Go over it because certainly when I've done interviews before and in interviews that I've been in, even if I've submitted an application form, if I've submitted a CV, they usually have my CV in front of them and they just pick out questions and ask about things on my CV. For example, I've had bad A-level grades and I've been asked to tell us a bit more about why your grades were so bad. And so I kind of go through my CV that I've submitted with a fine-tooth comb and look at things that they might ask me to expand on, things that are not unclear, and just work through that. So if they have my CV out, then it's really easy for me to just remember that. So I would say definitely prepare your CV. I hope that's helpful. Obviously, training, contract interviews and VAT scheme on... Guys... Do you know what? I'm losing my mind because you're literally watching me have a real life allergic reaction and it is just escalating and escalating and it is annoying me so much. So I've had to take my antihistamines and I don't know what I had that would have caused it. The only thing I put on my hand is this Aveeno cream and it has oat in it. And I'm not allergic to oats, but I'm allergic to wheat. And I'm just wondering if that's what's caused the allergic reaction. Because that's the only thing I've done. Everything else I wouldn't have been allergic to. Anyway, is there anything else I could say about interviews? Obviously, someone asked specifically about preparing for interviews as a Black woman, but I don't think there is anything. I think everyone prepares for interviews the same. What I will leave on a last note is all of the things I said obviously apply whether you're Black or white. But what I will say is as a Black woman, obviously it's that first bit that we spoke about. It's that like imposter syndrome, not thinking you're there to believe in like you're meant to be in the room. But I would just go back to what I touched on is that you always have something in common with people. That's why I probably, and I don't know if it's necessary, but that's probably why I go down the road of sharing all the things that we might have an interest, because I used to think I want them to know that even though I'm Black, I'm interested in the stuff they're interested in and I can fit in, like I can do this. Yeah, I do listen to Vibes Cartel and Chronic Law and all these other dancehall artists all day, every day, but I can still go in, I don't drink coffee, but I can still go in the kitchen and have a coffee. I still have a chat, I go to the theatre. Like there's all these other things about me that I can use to assimilate. Assimilate, that's not the word I was thinking for, that I can use to fit in. Music is just not how I fit in with people. That's very like personal to me, and I love dancehall music, but I do fit in other ways, and it's probably that made me take it to that extent because I was so worried about fitting in. Now I realize that you can fit in no matter what, and you don't really need to go out of your way to be someone you're not to fit in. Like, I'm not very good at I'm saying I'm not very good at code switching. I do not code switch. What you see is what you get. How I show up is who I am. I'm a very respectful person, and I do my best to, you know, be all types of, like, how can I describe it? Like, I'm very respectful. Like, I'm a nice person. I'm very respectful. Sorry, I feel like that angle is so weird. I'm a nice person. I'm very respectful. And I think that is what, for me, is of most importance. No, we're not going to have all the same interests, which is totally fine. I don't think you're meant to have all the same interests as everyone. But I can fit in and I can appreciate other cultures. And I think that's why I brought in the point about traveling, because I can appreciate other cultures, I can appreciate other people, and I can fit in and do other things that I wouldn't normally do. But yeah, I think that's the only thing I would say as a Black woman. I don't necessarily think there is anything you could do to prepare differently, but it is a mindset shift. And it's hard because I'm very much just me in every setting. And so it's really difficult, because my advice would certainly be, do not code switch. Just be who you are, because when you code switch, it comes with that mental load. It comes with that mental burden of showing up every day and not feeling like you're truly who you are, because you are truly trying to fit in and trying to code switch. If that doesn't come naturally to you, for some people, code switching is very natural. Sorry, I was going to start singing dance. Some boy too easy to switch dark. 10 ticks just ringing in my ears. The song's 10 tick roll deep. That's what popped into my head. I'm not easy to switch. It's really hard for me to just switch up who I am. That's why I even said for YouTube, if you want perfect vlogs and you want me to do unedited, like edited content where you get a stream of consciousness that all makes sense in the right order, this is just not the page for you, because that is not how my brain works, and I can't put that on for YouTube. If you meet me in real life and you ask me these questions, this is exactly how I would tell you. And this is what I say to my cousins, my friends who ask for my advice. This is just how I am. Including the itchy nose. If you ask my friends, yes, I will sit at dinner, have an allergic reaction, and just itching my nose for ages. That's just how I am. But that's what I would say. Yeah, I would say if code switching comes naturally to you, and no offense if it does, like, by all means, code switch. It's actually a really good skill to deploy. Then do code switch. I personally don't code switch. And I would say if you're someone that code switching doesn't come naturally to, don't code switch. There is obviously a side of you that is very professional, that shows up in certain ways. Just lean into that, but don't feel like you have to completely create that. I don't want anyone to ever feel like they have to be someone different to get a training contract, to get a vacation scheme, to fit into a law firm. Your mental health is... when it comes to mental health, there is just so much I feel like I could say, but your mental health is more important than anything else. Than anything. Always put your mental health first. And so if you are not someone that feels comfortable code switching and you force yourself to code switch, there is a likelihood, obviously it's not proven, but a likelihood that will have an impact on your mental health. You spend, especially as a trainee, you are going to spend so much time in the office. And if you are in the office and you feel like you can't be you, that is going to be very hard. My nose. I'm going to try and get through this. I'm going to wrap it up. It's 40 minutes. But that's going to be very hard for you. And I don't want anyone to ever experience being in a space that's corporate, that is already quite white, and feeling like they can't fit in. I don't think that is how it should be. And I don't want you guys to ever feel like that is what I do to fit in. I don't code switch. My colleagues may watch my content. That doesn't bother me. I'm not, like, I don't display ASBO behavior. I don't really drink that much. Obviously, I always have a glass of wine at work with friends. 1-2 drinks, that's my lot. I do scream and shout a lot. That's just dancehall for you. It brings that side out of me. But yeah, in general, I'm a very respectful person. I don't misbehave. I don't do anything that is like could be considered criminal behavior or criminal conduct or disorderly behavior. And so I don't change it up. I don't switch it up. I'm very much the same. And I love that about me. Sorry, the itchy nose. I love that about me. I love that that's who I am. And I really just want to encourage anyone who's watching, lean into yourself, be confident in who you are, and believe that you, as the person you are, can get a job, and you don't have to hide or lie, because mentally it takes its toll. You might be fine for a few years and maybe you'll be fine forever. But if you're someone like me, that is way too much. It's a burden that I wasn't willing to carry. I said, look, hey, I'm Kadeen. I like dancehall. Like when people at work start going on about ABBA, do you know what's funny? I actually don't know who ABBA are. Like, I know they're a band. I think someone said at work before they were the Mamma Mia band, but they're not my type of music. And I was saying to someone, like, my dad I have never grown up in a household where ABBA was played. Like, my dad didn't play ABBA. My dad was playing Sizzler. My mum was not playing ABBA. My mum was playing Usher. So when I go to work and people just talk about ABBA, like everyone knows who ABBA is, I'm like, do you guys know Vybz Kartel? Like, it's just so far from my reality, but I'm okay with that. And I'm always willing to just say, hey, I don't know ABBA, I'll be honest. Like, that's not my type of music. But it's a way to connect, because then I have had lovely conversations about, oh, so what did you listen to growing up? And I'm like, Usher and reggae music. Oh, that's so strange. And it's sometimes that they have never considered that I haven't grown up listening to ABBA, because that's their normal. In the same way that I never consider or even think about the fact that people don't grow up listening to Sizzler. Like, who hasn't listened to Sizzler? Like, do you know what I mean? That's just been my life. And so it's really interesting. And I think that's what I like to do. I like to have conversations. That's why I think I like social media. I like opening up those conversations and talking about new things and mixing with new people. I am very much an introvert, but when I'm out, I really enjoy doing that. And that's what the beauty of being myself allows. It gives me the opportunity to have these conversations and share things with people and learn things from other people and connect in different ways. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. I don't know if there's anything else I could say about interviews. I think, honestly, you've just got to go for it. As I said, do your research, prepare for it like it's an exam. You've already got the job when you walk in. And also, the last thing I would say is when they call you, hopefully to offer you the job, obviously you just say thank you, you scream, you shout, you cry, you open a bottle of champagne. If you don't get the job and they ask for feedback and they say, do you want feedback? Or they aren't able to give you feedback, then make sure you get the feedback. And if anything is unclear in the feedback, make sure you question it. That feedback is really key, and it's something that you should definitely take on board. Sorry, you guys are going to be like, hey, dude, your nose. I know. I'm literally having a live allergic reaction. It's something that you need to take on board. And sometimes I've been given feedback in the past that doesn't make sense to me. And so I will challenge it, not challenge it, but I will query it, because I want the feedback to be helpful feedback. So sometimes I might be like, if it's HR calling, could you just go back to the partners and ask them to give a little bit more? I'm not sure I quite understand that point of feedback, and I'm really keen to take on the feedback. So that's what I might say, just so that I can get the feedback and use it. And guys, I'm going to have to stop here. I feel like I'm probably rambling, but because I'm having an allergic reaction, I'm like in agony. My whole body is starting to itch. So I feel like I'm not concentrating. But as I said, I cannot keep stopping and starting and try and do perfect videos for you, because I'll never do them. It is now 12:44. I've literally just sat and recorded this whole thing just so I can get you the answers for anyone that's got interviews and stuff coming up. Very last thought. Don't just focus on VAT schemes and training contracts. Also do insight days, open days. If you can get yourself into an insight day or an open day ahead of your interview, that's going to give you answer lots of your questions for you, but also help you prepare, because you're going to get a good insight into what the firm are looking for. So you'll know the sorts of things that you need to go in the interview ready to demonstrate, and the questions you'll ask will be much better because you've already had an introduction to the firm. Best of luck. Leave comments with any other content you want to see. Please subscribe, please like, and just thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate my community. I love you guys dearly. If wherever you found me from, and if you've just found me on YouTube and you've never seen me on any other app, by the way, please just leave a comment, because that is crazy to me. Very exciting. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I will be back. I'm not necessarily doing a series, but anytime I see a question, I'm going to do my best to just keep putting videos out addressing your questions. And obviously I'm going to be doing my weekend vlogs, and then the sporadic nature of me, I'll just put videos here and there. So yeah, thanks for watching. Love you guys.